Hi, YouTube.
Hola, hola.
Hold on.
Bonjour.
Hold on a second. I'm gonna try turning off the light in here and see if it works to make me not look freaky.
Well, see, here's the thing.
Okay. See, this looks better. I mean, it's very dark, but I don't look like I'm blinding everybody now.
You mean you don't glow in the dark anymore?
I actually think I am still technically glowing in the dark. It's just now that it's dark, it's less obnoxious. Okay. So I know we said we were going to do Stalking Jack the Ripper next, but we also both read Wonder Woman Warbringer, and somebody has actually finished Wonder Woman
I wonder who.
as opposed to Stalking Jack the Ripper, and therefore we will be discussing.
I am that far into Stalking Jack the Ripper.
Is that the beginning or the end?
The beginning.
Okay. You really need to read.
I'll be done by like Saturday.
So we might be able to do this next weekend.
Yes.
Okay. So since we both read Wonder Woman and my book club did the wrap up today on it, we decided we'd do the discussion tonight. So I'm assuming most people probably know who Wonder Woman is. She's a DC Universe heroine. She's an Amazon. She's immortal. And
she is the star of that amazing movie that came out, what was it, last year?
Yeah, Wonder Woman. Same character, just different storyline because
stuff.
This she's 17 and she leaves Themyscira in this. But like with most comic book things, there's multiple storylines that go on. It has no connection to any comic book storyline. It's something completely made up by Leigh Bardugo at the request of DC Comics. She had their full permission to use their characters in her story, and I personally loved it. I gave it 5 stars because I was really, really surprised by who the villain was.
The first time ever.
Not the first time ever. Stalking Jack the Ripper actually surprised me too. But
I'm getting my Wonder
Woman. But it was also just a really refreshing take on Wonder Woman herself because I don't know if you know this at all, but Leigh is actually disabled, and doing a character like Wonder Woman, who is,
perfect.
Yeah. Was actually kind of interesting to see from the standpoint of a disabled author in conglomeration with the other characters and how they were presented and how the story played out. It was very, very interesting. So what happens is in the very beginning, Diana is on Themyscira. She's trying to feel like she belongs because she's there for different reasons than the other Amazons. She didn't die in battle the way the other Amazons did, so she feels like she's out of place. And because of that, she wants to prove herself so badly. And she's running a race, and the pressure's all on her because if she loses, not only is she the princess, but like she's the princess, and so that reflects badly on her. But also it reflects badly on her that she's not able to keep up with the other Amazons. They already think she's weaker than the rest of them. At least some of them do. The people that are
but I mean, she thinks she's weaker than the rest of the Amazons.
Yeah, and she is in some ways. She's not quite as physically strong as them, but that doesn't necessarily mean she's weaker either. Like there's different kinds of strength, and there's different, like that's one of the things she learns is that there's different kinds of strength in the course of the book. and that just because she's not initially as strong as the other Amazons doesn't mean that she can't be in other ways and that she can't be a hero. So her drive is to be this hero that she believes she can be. And throughout the course of the book, she's constantly trying, like, her goal is to save the world. She discovers this girl named Alia who nearly drowns on a shipwreck. The ship actually explodes in the middle of the ocean, and she dives out there and saves her. The rest of the crew is dead. And come to find out, Alia believes it's because of her family. Her family has been the target of attacks for years because they work with genetics and they do all sorts of like crazy scientific stuff that people think is, you know, evil because it's
unnatural.
science. Yeah. Turns out she is the descendant of Helen of Troy, and she's a Warbringer. And because of, like, apparently in this version, Helen is the daughter of Nemesis, the Greek goddess of vengeance, and therefore her power comes from being able to make people argue.
It goes way beyond arguing.
Yeah. Basically, every time a Warbringer turns 17, the entire world erupts into violence.
We're talking, what, like World War II?
Both world wars were the result of a Warbringer. Her power was a bit less powerful before, you know, modern technologies, but she was, like, a Warbringer was basically responsible for every major war you can think of.
Yeah.
And one, though we say responsible, but not really, like, as
it's not like she does anything. She kind of just exists.
Yeah. Her power somehow agitates other people into fighting. And one of the things Alia has to deal with is whether or not she's actually responsible for all of the deaths that are caused because of her power or not. So she, the amazing thing about this story is, I mean, we all know Diana's white. She's been white in almost every iteration of Diana. I can't actually think of one that she's not. Alia is not. Alia is half black, half Greek, and I believe she's Creole, right? Like, yes, her black side's Creole. So the book has very, very interesting talks about what is and is not expected of a Black woman, especially in a situation like Alia, where her family is so prominent. Oh, shit. I'm sorry, I had flipped over to check the comments on the video and it started talking at me.
I was wondering why your face was so white.
I started hearing my own voice coming through my headphones, so it was bad. But so it does this, like, one of the opening scenes once they leave Themyscira, because Alia being on Themyscira is basically making the island sick. There's a thunderstorm coming, which they never have.
For the first time.
Earthquake
for the first time. Disease for the first time.
All sorts of things. It's throwing the island out of whack. So they got to get her off. And Diana discovers from the oracle that's on the island that if she takes Alia to a spring in Greece and she bathes there, then Alia can be free of the Warbringer curse and prevent a war. And
it won't just be Alia free of the curse, it would be
her entire descendants.
Forever. There will never be another Warbringer.
Right. I mean, it'd probably change if Nemesis had another daughter, but Alia's line would be free of the curse. So she wouldn't have to worry about her daughter. She wouldn't have to worry about any future children from her. She can just live and be happy and know that any wars that happen after that aren't her fault. So they end up leaving the island and they use this thing called a Heartstone that Diana is trying to get to Greece. Alia is trying to get home. Home
because
is New York.
Alia thinks that Diana's crazy.
Yes. Alia thinks Diana's crazy.
I mean, who wouldn't?
True. So basically, they end up in New York City, which led to a really, really funny thing of like these guys on the subway hitting on Diana and she basically beating the crap out of them because she's Diana and she's awesome. And they go into a shop to buy clothes because Alia has lost pretty much everything but the clothes on her back. Diana's wearing Amazon attire. It doesn't really fit in New York City, especially when she's 6 foot tall at 17 and gorgeous. So they attract a lot of attention. So they do an interesting discussion on race at that particular moment that I thought was really cool. Alia notices that the security guard of the store is following them around. And she brings up to Diana that we need to get our stuff and go quickly and make sure that they don't act suspicious in the meantime. Because she knows she's been tagged as a possible shoplifter because she's black and she's there without shoes. And, now granted,
clothes are kind of ratty by now.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, a lot of us probably would have been tagged if we showed up without shoes and looking like a drowned rat. And but Alia had been raised by her mom to be extra sensitive to that sort of thing for obvious reasons. And she knows that it's not just that because she's been followed around stores many, many times. So they buy their stuff and they get out, and Diana goes, I thought race issues had been settled in your country. And Alia basically goes, yeah, a lot of people think that. It's not true. And so there's this really cool dichotomy for Alia of being this very privileged girl who comes from money. Her family's very, very rich, but she still deals with a lot of like issues that come just from her skin color that have nothing to do with like, because a lot of people think that, oh, it's just because they're poor. No, it's not because they're poor. It's because they're black. Because by making her family rich, Leigh kind of took out that whole aspect of a lot of black families in our nation are very poor, and people try to blame things on them being poor when it's not necessarily. Even if it is because they're poor, it's still not an excuse for mistreating people.
On that note, I'm thinking about skipping ahead to when Aaliyah's in school and they don't even show it in the book, but talking about how there's only like 3 brown kids in her school.
Yeah. There's one point where her best friend Nim's there, and I don't necessarily know that they were brown. I think the third girl who was part of the witches was Asian.
True story.
Like I think she was Korean. But Alia apparently got cast in Macbeth when she and her best friend were kids, and it was her Indian best friend and the only
other non-white person in school.
Yeah, got cast as the witches. So they would intentionally get their lines wrong just to be jerks because everybody else, like, they had been profiled as the witches. And
people were picking on them in school and everything.
yeah, so they were being picked on because they got cast as witches, even though they didn't necessarily want to be cast as witches, and they probably only were because they were the only non-white people there. And so they decided to own it and would go around going bubble, bubble, make some trouble, stuff like that. Like, they totally owned the whole witchy thing, and they pretended to cast spells on people just to freak them out, because why not when people are going to be assholes?
I mean, I wish I did that.
So Alia has a big brother named Jason who is trying to run his parents' company. They died when they were kids. Now, I thought their death was going to end up being something bigger. I thought it was going to end up being like, I know you said, so they know they have somebody inside the company that's been selling out Alia to the people that want to kill her to stop the war. Because that's another way of getting rid of the curse, is by killing whoever the Warbringer is.
Yes, that prevented the Cuban Missile Crisis from being worse.
Yes. They use, so somebody's selling her out within the company, they believe, and the first and really main person that's in the book as the villain, the possible villain that's selling her information to the bad guys, is Michael Santos, who's her friend, her parents' friend, and was actually responsible for investigating their death, whether it was an accident or not. I thought for sure it was going to end up being that Michael had been responsible for the death.
Too easy. Like, it was offered to you on a platter.
This is true.
It's like in Bring It On. Platter, hello.
I knew it couldn't be Theo. Theo is Michael's son. Alia has a huge crush on him. He's kind of dorky. I
was leaning towards Theo.
He is great with computers. He's kind of shrimpy and small, but Alia has been in love with him for basically her entire life, and they were really, like, it was really kind of adorable. And then there's Nim, who is Alia's best friend. She is a chunky Asian girl, or Indian girl, which is technically Asian, but she constantly refers to herself as fat. Other people refer to her as fat. And there's one point where somebody tells her she's not fat, and she goes, "Yes, I'm fat."
I think I've done that before.
And so she's obviously supposed to be quite curvy and very okay with that. She's
I wish I still had the book. The way Diana mentioned, from Diana's point of view, I think they just said she's round everywhere.
Yeah, it was a very flattering version of being chubby. And because Diana's the sweetest, most cinnamon.
Okay. She's raised on an island full of women. Especially like super athletic women, is anyone really going to talk about
chubbiness?
Like, not negative body image?
Probably not. But to me, like, Diana is basically the epitome of a badass cinnamon roll. Like, she can kill you with her finger, but she's the sweetest, most unthreatening girl ever. Like, she's
for this world.
Yes, she's so innocent. She doesn't think that, like, she doesn't understand any sort of issues with anything. She doesn't get embarrassment. She doesn't get any of that. Like, she's just so adorable.
She's like, oh, is Do you really think this will work?
And so she she comments that Nim's beautiful. She thinks Nim's very pretty. Curvy everywhere, but pretty because it's possible. And Nim's a fashion designer, and she likes to spend Alia's money on clothes because Alia lets her, because Alia has no style. So she basically is like, Nim, dress me.
I mean, it's more like, okay, Nim, if you want to, go ahead.
Yeah. So Jason insists that they have to go to this party before they can go to Greece because he's got to keep the family business in the family business or whatever. The shareholders are trying to take the company away from him or something. And it's the first time we really get to see Alia like break out of her shell. Diana convinces her to dress not really provocatively, but more flamboyant than she normally would, telling her that to wear her fancy dress like it's armor. And
so we get to pick the one that looked like armor.
Yeah, it's gold, and it's
like scaly.
Yeah, and we get at that party. We get to see an interesting commentary on Jason trying to fit in with like trust fund boys, all of whom are white, and kind of pushing off his best friend Theo because Theo's a bit embarrassing because he doesn't fit in with those guys. Theo is, I believe he's supposed to be Hispanic based on the last name. I don't know if they ever actually went into that, but Santos to me seems like it might be a Hispanic last name.
So what happened was when I was reading it, somehow in the description, it made him sound black, but yes, he did have a Hispanic last name of Santos.
Which is possible.
He could be.
It's possible he could be from one of those countries that has lots of Afro-Hispanics who just refer to themselves as Hispanic. They don't really go into a lot of. I know his skin's browner than like a white person's, but I really wasn't quite.
Take much.
No, it doesn't. So he's somewhere in that range of like between Hispanic to like a darker Hispanic color to possibly an Afro-Hispanic. And he is nerdy. He's not really into any sort of sports, and those guys are all into sports, and he just doesn't fit in.
He is not your average prep kid.
Right. And Diana actually comments at that point that Jason seemed particularly uncomfortable, like he was having to pretend on who he is.
And interesting commentary once you finish the book.
Yes. So on the course of, while they're at the party gets attacked by people trying to kill Alia, because of course it is.
and not just like kind of attacked. We are talking like paramilitary here.
Yes. Like they come in shooting with assault rifles. They end up bringing in like military grade machine guns, explosives. And we find out that Diana, while not exactly bulletproof, is pretty darn close.
Yeah, I'm like, dude, seriously?
She can get shot. It hurts her. It leaves behind marks. She heals really fast.
I'm like, are you serious? She can get shot.
Because some other versions of Diana, she can't be shot. She's impervious to gunshots. Like in the Wonder Woman movie. Do we ever actually see her get physically hit with a bullet?
I don't think she ever does. I think she's just really good at deflecting them.
Yeah. So I don't think it's entirely addressed, but I feel like things had to have hit her walk across no man's land. I don't know.
Well, okay, that and she's a demigod.
Yes.
And that, so it's much more reasonable that she can't get killed, or that she can't be shot. She can get killed, but just can't be shot.
So Diana takes on all of these paramilitary guys. They managed to be able to get people out. Many people died. Thankfully, our main characters, Nim, Theo, Alia, Diana, and Jason, are all fine.
You say that like that's a shock.
Mr. Santos conveniently had to step out for a phone call before the guys came.
Right.
Which is why one of the many reasons why Robin said he was
hello.
So later on we find out that the whole reason why that particular group of bad guys, the ones that want to kill Alia, found her is because Jason uploaded all the files that their parents had on the Warbringer to the company computers and likely got hacked.
Or they have a mole. Yeah. Although, I mean, who would put a mole in a company you didn't know needed a mole?
Yeah. So likely it was just at that point they kind of decided, okay, maybe we don't have so much of a mole as we do just my brother was an idiot who put stuff on the internet that wasn't properly protected. There's a reason why my parents left it in hard copies instead of backing it up on the work computers. So, and that's really when her attacks really skyrocketed, was after her brother put stuff on the work computers. So they managed this daring escape on a private jet that the what is their last name?
Careless.
The Corrales company owns, and they take off, ruining a bunch of public stuff in the process.
Yeah, they just tore up that park or whatever.
Yeah, the Met's pretty much destroyed at this point.
Oh, well, that wasn't their fault. The bad guys.
That was the bad guys. So they get on the plane and they're flying to Greece, and all of a sudden there's bad guys on the plane.
They landed at them first.
This is true. But they landed on the outside of the plane and managed to be able to get into the plane.
Which everyone parachutes out, except for Jason, who we discover is magic.
Jason, because he's also a descendant of Agamemnon and
Helen.
Menelaus and Helen. Agamemnon's married to Helen's sister.
We should have been reading Circe.
And he has the blood of heroes, which means basically he has superpowers similar to Diana's. He got knocked out of the plane and managed to hang on to the wing of the plane and then fly back into the plane, and him and Diana escape together. And they have this big long thing of trying to get through the Greek countryside without getting caught.
Which is surprisingly hard.
Yeah. They steal a car.
A Fiat.
Meanwhile, Theo and Nim constantly are being taken over by Eris and Phobos. Why do you think that those two were the only two that got infected by the gods?
Well, okay. You have the Warbringer herself, who I'm not sure if she can. Jason, who has, look, they don't mention this very, very much, but if Leah has Nemesis blood, Jason has Nemesis blood.
His whole power comes from being of the same line, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, then he's like, I'm from Heroes, I'm from Menelaus. While somehow she it's almost like he only got hero blood and she only got Nemesis blood.
Which is interesting for the fact that a lot of the story issues deal with that dichotomy of their two sides of the family. Because Alia's big thing is she's not just a Corrales, she's a Mayu as well.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Jason is way more focused on the Corrales side of the family and doing what their dad would have wanted. And he hates the constraints that their mom kind of put on them of talking softly, being
having morals.
Not just that. I think it's more than just having morals. I think it's the whole don't talk back, don't make waves, don't bring attention to yourself as a Black person in America. Keep it contained. Don't let them see you hurting. Try not to be better than them because then they'll hate you, sort of thing.
Okay, well, that's because he was magic.
Well, there's that too. But so he spent his entire life suppressing this side of him that he can do just about anything. Having to be mediocre at sports, having to be mediocre at fighting, having to be mediocre at all these things he should be able to be good at, that he is good at. And not only to protect his sister, but to protect himself and protect the family. And
I mean, Dash and the Incredibles had to hold back.
That too. But they I feel like I'm hearing WoW music in my headphones. Why am I hearing WoW music in my headphones?
Well, how the heck am I supposed to know?
I'm hearing a thumping and I don't understand it.
I don't even have I have Battle.net open, but I don't have WoW open.
That's weird.
Also, you can't hear anything off my computer anyway. That's what these are for.
I know, it's really weird. I'm just hearing music.
Unless it's coming out of your computer.
I don't even have Battle.net open.
Do you have the stream open? Sorry, guys, technical difficulties.
The stream's paused right now.
Okay, never mind. Now, what were we talking about? What were we talking about? Ignore the music in your head.
So there was actually a really interesting conversation in their trip to the stream that should have tipped us off. So there's a really interesting conversation about genetics and survival of the fittest and how modern technology and medicine is basically undoing that. And how our generation's weaker than any before us because of our technology, sort of thing. And of course, all that talk's coming from Jason. Talking about how, in the past, Theo wouldn't have made it, Nim would have made it. They're too, because Nim's fat and Theo's a weak tech geek. And he kind of just sums it up as it's just biology. And that should have tipped us off that he doesn't want to stop the war. Because
that's not quite obvious. That's a giant leap from we kind of suck as people to we need to have an all-out war and go through eugenics.
But the very the very fact that it's kind of I was sitting there thinking about it, and I'm so Leigh's a disabled author, and by Jason's own admission, anybody who has illnesses, chronic illnesses, anything like that, wouldn't be able to make it. So they shouldn't. just the very callousness of it, of the way he was saying it's just biology, should have tipped us off that he was more than just, you know, the brother. He actually has an entire group of, like, a paramilitary group that he controls, that he is pumped full of hero blood, which actually I'm wondering if they were the ones who attacked the plane, because they tried to take Alia, not kill her. And most humans, I don't think, can just land on a plane and take it over like that. But so they get to the spring and he kidnaps Alia so that she can't bathe in it and cleanse herself of the curse. He orders like one of these monsters that he's created out of the blood of, like, the ancient monsters to take Diana's blood and kill Nim and Theo, claiming that it's a mercy because they won't survive the coming war anyway.
I mean, I'm sorry. I have issues with people who are like, I'm being merciful by saving from this war that I'm going to start.
Yeah, like, seriously?
All you have to do is just not start the war, just saying.
Yeah. And his thing was he doesn't believe humanity can, like, not be at war. So he's trying to create the biggest war possible to reset everything and return us to an age of heroes where, you know, only the strong survive. Because that kind of world is just so great.
I feel like he, you know, Jason, after years and years and years and years and years of holding back, just wants to be the best.
Yes. And wants a hero.
Anything else that comes out of his mouth is just him wanting to be the best and him rationalizing it.
Yes.
So it's like, this just makes sense because I'm rationalizing it that way. Like, because I need to
because he wants it, it's got to be right, and he'll do any sort of mental gymnastics to get there.
Yes, thank you.
So Diana dies in the fight with the monster.
I'm like, wait a minute, there are way too many pages left in this book.
Which, of course, means she dies in battle, and now she's a true Amazon.
I'm like, there are way too many pages left in this book.
So she makes a deal with the goddesses that run the Isle, who magically are the Oracle too.
I'm that goddesses. Are you really surprised about the magic part?
Not really.
Okay.
She brings it, like, she goes to fight again, and she manages to convince them to bring Nim and Theo back to life as well, because of course she would. She's Diana. She'd bargain anything to be able to save her friends. And she bargains it as her last chance. If she fails this time fighting Jason, she will just die. She won't get to go to Themyscira. She either makes it home because she's still alive, or she doesn't die as an Amazon. So there ends up being this epic fight between her and Jason personally, as Alia learns to harness her power and make people fight that she wants to fight instead.
She did it on purpose.
Yes, for the first time.
As opposed to everyone around her just, like, going at it for no good reason.
So she reaches inside herself and makes this fight start occurring between the paramilitary guys, like they're attacking each other, sort of thing, taking each other out, making it easier for her friends. And Jason gets the bright idea to inject himself with Amazon blood because he's all like, what kind of soldiers can I make with your blood? He injects himself with it, And suddenly he realizes that maybe there's a downside to being an Amazon, like, say, feeling the pain of the other Amazons when they're hurting. And then having to fight through that. So he's fighting Diana, punching her, hurting her, and getting pain because of it, which was glorious.
I mean, it's Chekhov's gun.
It was Chekhov's gun?
Well, they mentioned early in the book that all the Amazons feel each other's pain. And Chekhov's gun is, if you say there's a gun on the table, you have to use it.
Yeah.
And so it's Chekhov's gun. Like, I completely forgot about that.
Chekhov, but yeah.
Oh my God, you geek. You geek. That Chekhov doesn't even have a gun. He has a phaser.
I know, that's why I was confused.
You geek. I say, as someone who is potentially just as geeky or geekier. Most likely on the geekier side.
So he gets debilitated by the pain that Diana feels anytime she fights one of her sisters, which they do a lot because they train a lot. So she knows how to fight through it. He doesn't, because he's never felt that kind of pain before. And I kind of think it's amazing that, like, she goes through this talk about how if you're going to cause pain to another person, you should have to experience how it feels. And you have to be, if you're going to cause pain, you have to be prepared for the fallout and be able to deal with that yourself. And he thought he could, and he couldn't. He was a lot weaker than he actually thought he was. And so meanwhile, while they're fighting, Theo and Nim are breaking into one of the things and destroying Jason's hard drive on everything that he, like, all of the science he had worked out on how to create his monsters, how to create his super soldiers, all of that they're getting rid of. And it's kind of amazing to watch as this hyper strong ultimate hero character, what he set himself up to be, being brought down by the very people that he wrote off as useless. Like, yeah, our society's different. Maybe we're a little bit maybe we have some elements that aren't as physically strong as others, but they're strong in other ways, and that's important too. It's valid too. And strength, health, all of that doesn't make your worth at all, and it shouldn't. And in many ways, our society's better for it because we have a more diverse group of people bringing ideas to the table, bringing everything. It was really, like, a great ending to an epic book.
That reminds me of the saying. I can't remember exactly how it goes. Something about if you. Never mind, I'll figure it out later. I'll tell you later, and the internet won't get to hear. Sorry, internet.
Throughout the story, there was kind of this, like, relationship building between Jason and Diana.
Oh my God, yes, which does not help.
Because they're kind of equals in that way. Because she's super strong, he's super strong. They're kind of drawn to each other for that reason. Plus, she's beautiful. And the fact that, like, he tries to convince her to join him because they're both these uber powerful beings, and her rejecting these people aren't worth anything thing was amazing to see too.
Especially she did grow up on the mascara. Obviously, everyone there is obnoxiously strong. Yes. So she wouldn't have even seen weak people. And she has been told for the past 17 years that the world of man is going to destroy itself.
Right. And she doesn't necessarily believe that humans can exist without fighting, but she wants to try. And she doesn't give that up.
I mean, she see, you know, her sisters basically would not see the good in humans as opposed to her. She's like, yeah, there's good. I'm like she's going around like everyone is good until proven otherwise.
She's a cinnamon roll.
But I eat cinnamon rolls.
Yes, and they're delicious, and they're soft and sweet and wonderful. And that's Diana, except she can kill you.
So I found out what I was trying to say, 30 seconds ago. Everyone is a genius, but if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing that it's stupid.
Exactly. We all have strengths and weaknesses, and it's very good that our society can make it so that everybody can exist. And we need to get better at making sure that our various different kinds of people have their place that they can fit into, and that they're not required to do things that are outside of their abilities.
We're still working on that.
Yeah, we are. But we're getting there, slowly but surely.
Give it another 1,000 years.
I believe one day we will be in a world where people can actually just exist and not have to prove their worth. But yeah, I thought it was a really good book. I thought it was a really good start to the DC Icon series. I read Catwoman this week too, and it was pretty spectacular. I'm not gonna lie. Gonna read Batman next, because why not? But yeah, we really liked it. We actually managed to keep this one on point, and I'm gonna be having to get off soon, I think.
You're right. Except for that whole you're hearing things in your head. We were on topic.
I know, right? But yeah, so read Wonder Woman if you haven't already. Read it again if you have, because it's awesome. Leigh's actually quickly becoming one of my favorite authors. The more I read from her, the first series I read, the Gracia trilogy, was kind of but between Six of Crows and now this, and I can't wait for King of Scars coming out.
Six of Crows should be here somewhere.
We need to read those.
Well, no, I mean, I started. I just have no idea where I put it. It's not in my stack of library books.
That's not good. When's it due?
I don't know, but when I went to the library on Thursday, it wasn't due yet, so.
You should probably find it.
Yeah, I know.
But yeah.
I can just renew it. I haven't renewed it yet.
Well, you still kind of need to find it eventually.
Well, yes, but someone wants me to read this.
Yes.
And I said I would read it by Saturday, so.
Yes. So read that and then get Hunting Prince Dracula, because we're going to read that next.
Gosh, child. I can say that. I'm older than you.
And you might want to put Escaping Houdini on hold already, because it's probably going to be checked out for a little while. And then we'll be done with the series for the time being and can move on to Circe. Well, Song of Achilles first. But yeah, let us know what you thought of Wonder Woman. Your thoughts on the ableist character being brought low. Yeah, we really, I really enjoyed it. I actually, the more I think about it, the more I like the story itself and how it progressed. And I'm still kind of bummed that Alia and Diana didn't end up together, because that would have kind of been cool. But, maybe she'll hook up with Nim.
I was thinking about that.
Because Theo and Alia got together at the end of the book.
Yes. Although Nim did have that girl that we don't
Yeah.
know anything about.
Yeah.
Except that she's like blonde or something.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, so we will see you guys hopefully next week to discuss Stalking Jack the Ripper. Robin's probably going to have a lot of words to say to me, at me.
I mean, besides those pictures I keep finding?
Of like...
At least they're just drawn, yeah. Like,
yeah. Yeah. Robin's not much of a gore person, and so this series might be a little difficult for her because it deals with a lot of dissecting the dead.
See, if Julie has a black eye, that means I drove to her house and punched her in the face.
4 hours at that.
3 hours to your house.
And then back.
And then back, so that's 6 hours.
Yeah.
But if I do it on Friday, I can be back by Saturday. And then my parents would love to see me.
But yeah, so the gore is going to be a little bit difficult for her to get through. But I think she'll find it worth it because it's a great series. But
that's what you said about 3 Dark Crowns.
And it is.
I haven't gotten through the next one yet. I think I read the first 2 chapters.
Yeah, I need to read 2 Dark Reigns. It's come out now. I love how you're so mad at me for making you read 3 Dark Crowns, but you're reading 1 Dark Throne.
Reading.
Well,
I am reading it like you are reading Tower of Dawn.
Hey, I'm like 20 chapters into Tower of Dawn.
And how long have you been reading Tower of Dawn?
A few weeks. It's a big book, and I have other things to read. I have book clubs to run.
And it's a book about cat. Okay, we're getting off topic.
Yes. Okay.
We're doing so well on the internet. Sorry.
All right. Night, guys. We will see you later.